yesterday's watches today. Yesterday's watch review today. I can't even remember the name of my own video series. This is a Seiko 6217-8001, the so-called 62 MAS, based on the dial code. Automatic self-dater is what that MAS stands for, apparently. This one is from June 1967, so it's relatively late in the run of these. It would be less than a year before the 62 MASs were phased out in favor of the 6105-8000s. So this is the last of, basically, this is the sort of there was sort of Seiko during the mid-60s, and then Seiko clicking over around 68 into the late 60s when Danny and Suwa started doing all their things. This sort of dates before then. It's the last of the old style watches with the last of their old style movements. It was, as many people know, this is the first true dive watch that Seiko produced, 150 meters depth. It's an elegant watch. It's relatively small by today's sizes, but in terms of sizing then, it was pretty robustly sized, 37 millimeter case. It's basically, it was a dress watch with a heavier case and big bright lume markers, applied lume markers, square edge chrome topped. One of the sort of the hallmarks of this watch. The big 3D dial with these flat marker tops. And they have this lovely sort of, I don't know if you want to call it a lozenge shape, but it's sort of taper. The lume well sort of tapers down, and because the lume doesn't fill it to the top, it gives it this lovely sort of 3D look, which I think is great. There's a lot of elegance to the watch and a lot of nice details to it. The sort of, one of the things about, I always think of when I see watches is that, to me, it always looks like a bowl with handles. So a bowl with two handles on each side, like a bowl with two sticks. And you can very clearly see that here. It's a very purposeful design. I also like, if you can see, sort of the perfection of the curve of the insert matching the curve of the glass. And so there's nothing to catch on it. It's a very functional design. You can see this one is a dolphin caseback. And this, by the way, is on one of Larry Boulinet's, Uncle Seiko's, one of his brand new waffle straps. And they are super cool. There's another one right there. Apparently these have been on the market for about a week and a half, and I'm extremely delighted that these came along just in time to put on this 62 MAS of mine. In any case, so let's go back to this. This is sort of an early watch design, and so in terms of dive watches, and so it has an older case design. There's no real ergonomics to it. It's a design built out of necessity. You have a very strong lug design, lugs integrated right in the case. It makes it stronger so that if you whack it, like with a dress watch, you're not going to be in danger of necessarily snapping off a lug like this. This is a 6217 World Time watch, and so you can see it's got the more delicate lugs. And the earlier 30-meter silver waves had lugs like this. They wanted to be a little more burly. And you see a lot of sort of dive watches of this era that look like this. Oh, goodness gracious, what is the name of that company? There's a couple like Bulova divers of the same era that look like this. And a lot of sort of the copycat divers used this case style. Very clean, very simple. For some people, they feel it's a little too small right now. But I've been actually wearing like a 36 millimeter dress watch, so this thing feels perfectly sized to me right now. So what's underneath the hood? This has a 6217-17 jewel movement in it. I'm going to show you the brother movement to this, which is a 6206. It's the higher end movement of this watch. This one is, these are 26 jewels, correct? 26 jewels. So this is the 26 jewel version of that movement. Also, this movement is silver plated. It's not gold plated like this, but other than that, except for the jeweling and the color of the movement, functionally it's the same. It's an 1800 BPH movement. And they tend to have great amplitude, and they tend to be quite accurate. They're slow, but they're nicely made. They're good movements. It's a good movement family, and Seiko used them in a lot of different models, all the way from the 17 Jewel 62 MAS, like this. They used the 6217 with an added 24-hour wheel for the World Time Watch here. That's this one. It's got the Olympic case back on it. And all the way up to, they had some Grand Seiko models. Unfortunately, I don't have one here to show you, but this is the one that people seem to really think is really hot, and they really love them. This is a 6218. This one is freshly arrived from Japan. It is unrestored. It's pretty worn, and this one also has a problem. I don't know if you can hear that. Can you hear that clicking? That's the winding weight flopping back and forth. Now, one advantage of this movement family over the later watch movements is that in the later watch movements, the 6119s, if you had a bad winding roller assembly, the ball bearing roller assembly, then the whole bridge was bad. There was no way to replace it. But with these earlier movements, with the 6.2 family and the 6.6 family, it was a replaceable little cartridge. You could actually just 3 screws and a holding ring, and you could order this part separately, and it would save your winding bridge, and everything would be great. You just swap this thing out, and you're done. It's not like later on you'd have to replace the whole bridge itself. So I like it because it makes it a little neater. Anyway, they're good movements. I like them. These 6206s and the other ones, they're beautifully jeweled. They have 4 diafix settings, and if you get up to the 6218, it gets up to the point of having actually has hacking, which is pretty amazing. I'm going to restore this one later when I have some time. Isn't that an elegant watch? 6218. That's a little bit of dial patina there, but that's not bad. We put that under there and put that under cover so we can protect that movement, because that movement is completely cleaned, ready to go into a watch. So anyway, it's a purposeful design. There's nothing spare or extra about it. It doesn't hack. It's got instant date setting. The crown does not screw down. The crown is the same crown that was used in the 6105 8000, same crown. Doesn't hack. Doesn't it's automatic only winding, so it's a very simple, very straightforward diver. Nothing funky, nothing fancy, nothing extra. Now when Seiko went to the next iteration of the divers, they decided to go a little bit more ergonomic, but not really. This one has a little more flash with the double curve of the case, but they kept the high relief applied markers. They're not really applied, actually. In a lot of cases, this is actually just stamped up from underneath and then plated over the top. And that's what they have here. But they kept that. But then when Seiko went to the next generation of divers after that, the 6105 8110s, they started getting for some serious ergonomics. And the ergonomics on this case are just beautiful. Beautiful curve. These are so elegant and so comfortable to wear. But again, you've got those applied markers, and Seiko kept those, which was nice, and they kept the deep bloom wells. And I think and the same with the handset. They kept the handset. So these are all, these are brothers. These are all brothers. They all stick together. Nice watches. This one's unrestored, by the way, and that's the original GXL 731 tire strap on. And this is the first 6105 I ever owned. This came to me from a professional welder underwater welder in Chicago. It was destroyed when it got. I'm so proud of this watch still. People laughed at me when I bought it because it looked so bad when I got it, but it's mostly original to itself. Okay, so then Seiko in 1976 started producing the 6306 and the 6309 divers, and they kept a lot of the elements of the 6105 from before, but they simplified the design and they made it cleaner, and they went from the applied markers to the flat printing. 6306. These are lovely too, because these, like this watch, one element that is the same though between the two is that they are very much purpose-built dive watches. They weren't frilly, they weren't fancy, they did exactly what they were supposed to do, and they did nothing more than they were supposed to do. Just a useful watch. Very clean printing, very visible. This one has hacking, but again, it's automatic winding only, and it has a screw-down crown, which is nice, because that's an improvement from the non-screw-down, non-screw-down locking. Now we have screw down complete. Same water resistance, 150, but this one's probably going to be a lot more reliable than this one is. But they're lovely pieces that Seiko did. Lovely pieces. And they kept their traditions going. I would show my SKX 007, but I can't actually lay my hands on it right now. It's being used. Otherwise, I would have that here because that, in my mind, continued the tradition of pure dive watchedness. And people say, well, what's so great about the SKX? I'm like, they're a pure dive watch. But in its place, I'll show this, the later generation 7548 7009 on this one on its Z199. But again, a pure dive watch. So you go from, I mean, the core philosophy has stayed the same. Anyway, that's about it. Lots of fun. So there it is. 62 MAS. Lovely watches. They're elegant. Now's the time to buy one because they're going up in value so quickly. And I also strongly recommend this beautiful, beautiful strap that Larry is cranking out at UncleSeiko.com. He's a friend of mine, full disclosure, but I wouldn't promote this if I didn't think it was awesome. And like the fact that they came out basically the week I got this watch and got it fixed and finished and rebuilt, it was just perfect. Perfect. Exactly the strap needed for this watch. And I strongly recommend them. They are cool. Okay, thank you for watching.